It's been millions of years since the first humans walked the Earth. Thanks to anthropological and archaeological discoveries, we've been able to draw scientific conclusions of what life was like back then. Today we have less hair, we walk straighter now, and we have better developed facial features than our ancestors. We're learning more and more about our ancestors all the time. Facts First presents Scientists Can't Explain These Early Human Abilities. Homo sapiens are our ancestors, and they originated in Africa. According to a scientific theory known as out of Africa, our ancestors left Africa and moved to Europe and Asia. It's believed that the migration took place around 80,000 years ago. Homo erectus, the upright human, followed the exact same route, from Africa to Eurasia over 1 million years ago. Many anthropologists believe that early humans didn't develop a culture until about 50,000 years ago. The mitochondrial Eve theory suggests that we all come from one woman from East Africa. She's believed to have lived about 150,000 years ago. It's thought that Homo sapiens evolved over 150,000 years ago at the time of mitochondrial Eve. This means that our species has been around long before we developed art, communication, ornaments, and bone tools. They did have tools and fire, but they didn't develop language until a cultural explosion occurred later on. Humans are the least genetically diverse species because we all descend from one small group of humans who lived in East Africa. An effective population size is how many people you need to reproduce the genetic diversity for our entire population. For humans, this number is around 15,000, but since there are about 7 billion of us on the planet, that's a really low number. Some species of mice have an effective population size of 733,000. Around 80,000 years ago, there was a drastic reduction in the size of the human population. Experts aren't 100% sure what caused the decline, but it wiped out a good portion of us. Some believe that a massive volcanic eruption filled the sky with millions of ash particles. These particles blocked the sun's heat for many years, creating freezing temperatures that the early humans just couldn't handle. Or perhaps it was the worldwide flood that many religions say did happen. Whatever happened, it destroyed food sources and it froze the lakes and streams. Those who couldn't handle the cold died from starvation and thirst. For many years, we believed that our ancestors were small-brained and lived off what they could find. This meant eating food that grew naturally in the wild and eating meat that had been already killed by another predator. This was a common belief until we discovered hunting and eating tools. This discovery suggested that early humans were smarter than we initially thought. There are a few things that do set us apart from our animal counterparts. Humans can walk on 2 legs. We created stone tools. We created fire. Archaeologists have discovered evidence of flint tools that were used to create fire and for scraping and cutting meat. When the discovery was made, it gave us a better look at what life was like in the Stone Age. Neanderthals are our closest extinct human relatives. They lived in Europe and Asia around 200,000 years ago. They're well known and often misunderstood. The Neanderthals' appearance was very similar to ours. They were shorter than us, a bit stockier, and they had angled cheekbones, prominent brow ridges, and wide noses. These qualities were essential for survival in Europe's cold climate, so that they could hunt big animals for food. People once thought of Neanderthals as barbarians, but discoveries have proved that to not be true. It's been discovered they used tools, they could create fire, and they would bury their dead. Human evolution says that humans evolved from ape-like ancestors. Scientific evidence has shown that the physical and behavioral traits that are shared by all people stemmed from these ancestors. Over an extended period of time, they evolved. According to evolution, our species will continue to evolve. This is a response to living conditions, different types of food, geographical and environmental changes, and the creation of modern technology. The people who will live 20,000 years from now could look very different than what we look like today. One of the primary factors of evolution was the food that our ancestors consumed. In the past, our ancestors traveled far distances and adapted to their new locations. Their diet had to change based on the food that was available at that time. Our ancestors' diets consisted of nuts, seeds, fish, insects, and small animals. This helped their brains develop, making them more intelligent. When they became intelligent, they started using advanced tools and fire, and that kept evolution going. According to a recent study, the Homo sapiens diet helped them evolve further than the Neanderthals who consumed mainly meat. When the Ice Age killed off many animals, the Neanderthals starved, while the Homo sapiens had other sources of food. They perfected their diet over the next 1,000 years, and today it's known as the Mediterranean diet. Some people stick to this diet today and are known to live longer than others. We know that when humans began walking upright, the shape of our hands changed. They became shorter, square, and had opposable thumbs. Many believed that this evolution occurred to help early humans with dexterity. However, recent studies suggest the hand evolved this way to make a fist and throw a punch. The evolution of the hand did help early humans use tools, however the main reason was, at least according to some, for fighting. As the hands evolved to throw a punch, the face had to change in order to take that punch. Without guns and other weapons, fistfights were common forms of battle. These battles could get pretty brutal, so it makes sense that our faces would have to evolve to sustain the force of a punch. It's difficult to pinpoint the exact time that people started wearing clothes to stay warm. However, it is believed to have been around the time that humans lost their body hair. When the hair was gone, people relied on animal skins to stay warm. Based on factors such as genetic skin coloration, it's believed that people began wearing clothes around 1 million years ago. Some scientists believe that our ancestors' communication traits and language began when our ancestors were still in Africa. The first language was made up of grunts and sounds rather than formal words. These sounds were used as a means of expression and instruction. Today, there are thousands of different languages spoken in the world, which makes this belief very unlikely. Anthropologists and linguists suggest that the human language began to develop into words around 100,000 years ago. For a time, anthropologists believed that humans began hunting meat close to 2 million years ago. When evidence of an ancient butcher site was discovered in Tanzania, that proved the theory to be wrong. Today, experts believe that early man could ambush and hunt herds of animals 2 million years ago. It's thought they used complex hunting techniques to ambush and kill gazelles, antelope and wildebeest, and other wild animals a lot earlier than we initially thought. A hobbit-like species is said to have lived around 15,000 years ago. That's based on evidence from Australian and Indonesian scholars. These species lived among the pygmy elephants and 10-foot lizards. They were said to be no taller than a 3-year-old. We're much smarter than our ancestors, but our brains are becoming more compact. A researcher at the University of Wisconsin named John Hawks is sure of this. He believes that this shrinking has occurred as our heads have become smaller, so our brains had to shrink as well. Fortunately, our more compact brains are capable of learning more than we ever could before. When we first started walking upright, it separated us from our ape ancestors. The reason we started walking on 2 legs is unknown, but researchers do have a theory. They believe it was to allow our chest more room to breathe while running. Right-handed people outnumber lefties by 9 to 1. In competitive sports, the ratio of left-handed to right is a bit larger, though. And that's what led to a theory that early cultures developed handedness as a form of cooperation. It's estimated that our ancestors created stone tools about 2.6 million years ago. Researchers have discovered fossil animal bones that contained butcher marks in Dikika and Ethiopia up to 3.4 million years ago. This discovery proved that early humans used sharp rocks on the bones of large animals to cut and kill their food. It's believed that long-skulled people walked the earth before we did. In 1913, scientists uncovered strange skull fragments. It was thought that these people had childlike faces, and that led to conversations about aliens living on Earth. Since the human race survived, and this species didn't, aliens may not be as smart as we've given them credit for. Although experts have found a variety of different human species, the discovery didn't change what we believed about their genetic makeup. That's because all of our ancestors have come from the same location in East Africa, which it is thought that our ape-like ancestors once lived. Subscribe for more.